Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to the September edition of Artist Alchemy. This is the show sponsored by YubaSutterArts&Culture, where we interview artists from all walks of life, all genres of art. And it's going to be an exciting conversation today. Alchemy is that kind of medieval pseudoscience. We try to dig back into what makes the magic happen, so to speak, when artists are in the forefront. Our special guest this month. This used to be a weekly show. This month is Amanda Davis, professional dancer, dance instructor, and great to see you, Amanda.
You too. Thank you for having me, David.
You bet. I'm so pleased because after more than a year of doing this program, you are by the first professional or dance professional we've been able to speak to. So pretty exciting on many levels.
Yeah.
You've been. I'm used to seeing you on Tuesday evenings anyway. The last couple of weeks, you've been leading our West Coast swing dance lessons and programs at the Sutter Theater Center for the Arts. So thanks for getting that project started.
That's been really fun.
Yeah, we will talk a little more about that, but we spoke about this before we went live. Talk to us a little more about your life this past year during the time of COVID and teaching dance in a virtual world. How was that?
It was an experience. Definitely had its challenges and its ups and downs. I think, honestly, the biggest challenge was figuring out how to get all the furniture situated in my house so that I could demonstrate movement without constantly kicking a coffee table or a couch or being concerned about knocking over my TV.
You used to open studio space with live students.
Yeah.
So yeah, you had to totally reconfigure. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was interesting to do and kind of play with my furniture in different ways. And my house lived in a very different arrangement than it had prior to, and definitely different than it is now. But it was, I think, a really good challenge to have to put yourself in a position, because I know a lot of the dance teachers that I know had to do very similar things, and figure out, how do I keep dance interesting for these kids who are trapped at home? And a number of them did have good sized living rooms where they could clear out space and still move and had some freedom and were able to really explore through movement, even though they were at home instead of in the studio. But you did have a number of kids who they were in their bedroom, and whether that was because they didn't have a living room to be in, or whether that was because they were more nervous and didn't want to be in front of their parents while they were taking class, you're watching them in this very narrow space, trying not to hit their bed or their desk and navigate that. So creating movements that could be done on both a large scale and a small scale so that you could keep everybody interested.
Typically
was a challenge.
In the classroom, traditional classroom setting, are students alone with you and the parents wait outside, or are parents in the studio?
Most depends on the level and the age, and also really on the parents. You have, I think, some parents who, whether it's because they have a couple of siblings that they're trying to drop off, or work lives and they don't really have an option. You do have parents who will drop kids off and then take off because they're like, I got 45 minutes. I'm going to go grocery shopping. This is my time to run errands. And then you do have families where you'll have a parent who sits and watches because they really like to.
So you don't forbid that. I know in some of our youth programs, youth choir and applause performing arts, it's usually better to have the parents, out of the theater. But so you have to gauge it on each situation.
Yeah. And I'd say that was one of the interesting finds over the past year, was as people started to come back into the lobby, you did see a difference in the focus of the dancers. When parents aren't there, most of them, it was very, very few that this would be untrue for, but most of the students were better focused without mom and dad in the building. They weren't, looking to see what does my parent think of what I'm doing. And so instead of that constant check out the window or out the door, they were actually able to really focus in on class a lot better. And that was true from the youngest all the way through the oldest. So, things that we've learned.
Right. Yeah, it is a learning process. We all had to kind of reinvent ourselves, whatever it is that we do. And we've kind of gotten through it. But as we were talking earlier, it's, there's still some uncertainties. So we're moving forward and masking and trying to keep everybody safe and still engaged in the arts to the greatest extent possible. So
Yeah.
where'd you grow up, Amanda?
Mostly here.
Oh, okay. You're
Born
local.
born in North Dakota, so a
Ah,
little kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
yeah.
And my dad was in the Air Force at that time, so we bounced from Minot down to Merced, out to Pennsylvania. And while we were in Pennsylvania, that was when he stepped out of Air Force. My brother was born in Pennsylvania, and we moved out here right before I started first grade. So Yuba City is definitely my hometown and where I've spent the majority of my
Sure.
years growing up.
So he was out of the Air Force when he didn't come here to go to Beale, or he didn't wasn't
Nope,
based at Beale Air Force Base.
nope, he
So
was
connect
done.
those dots for me: Pennsylvania and Yuba County, or
I
Yuba.
believe I believe as the story goes, it was primarily focused on find an area where it doesn't snow because I don't want to shovel the driveway anymore was key point number one.
I can relate to that after
Um,
20 years in Maryland. Yeah.
oh, yep, and that's where my dad was born and raised. So, yep, that. Uh, and I think it just happened to be the right spot, far enough away from too much big city. Uh, I, you know, the right
Wow.
hospital or right medical facility hiring, and
Yeah.
it just fit, I think.
Oh,
So,
excellent. Interesting.
yeah,
Quite a change. I came back
indeed.
to my home state just because I wanted to, and my kids were grown and off in college, and had a chance with work to come back. And I chose Northern California because I had some friends here, and I'd visited over the years, and so that's nice. Not too far from Sacramento if I need a big city experience, or San Francisco. So
Yeah,
it's a pretty
exactly.
good place, all things considered. What tell us about your kind of your dance origin story? When did you first get interested? I mean, like, as you've certainly explained, kids are kind of naturally little dancers and movers and shakers. What
Yeah.
about the serious interest in dance? When did that start to happen for you?
I think the serious interest in dance really hit in high school.
Okay.
I had been at pretty much every studio in Yuba City over the course of the years prior to. Danced a year with
So you were
Carolyn
taking
Foy.
taking classes, so you were
Oh
into
yeah,
it.
oh yeah. So definitely into it. Danced with Carolyn Foy, danced with Lori Conlin, Stacy and Kevin Nelson, who were here for a couple years and then moved across the country, and they're down, I think, in Temecula now.
Oh,
So took from several different studios, Marlene Poston, and then got into high school and decided to go to the Charter Academy, Marysville
oh,
Charter Academy. Its first year opening, um, and met Jackie, now Jackie Oakman, and she's was such a firecracker that
wow.
completely changed my perspective on dance because at that point you couldn't talk me into a jazz class. I would only take ballet, and
Oh, interesting. You're a
she
purist.
I was a purist, and she broke me of that. So by the time she was done with me at the end of high school, jazz, tap, ballet, lyrical, nothing was foreign and everything was exciting. And
Oh,
I
okay.
knew I knew I wanted dance in my life in some way, shape, and form. Period.
So, so Jackie was teaching at MCAA.
Hmm.
Oh
She was
my
our
gosh. Okay.
first dance instructor. Yeah.
So that was before the she formed Jackie's Dance Expressions,
I think she had
or did
formed
she
the
have that?
studio the year before. So she was still
Oh, okay,
very new into her time at GDE. Um,
okay,
and then I think the Charter Academy really just helped her take off from there too. So
yeah.
it was
Well,
good.
that's fun to
Yeah.
know. I had no idea. That's a
Hmm.
great additional little bit of information. So you got
Yeah.
real serious about it, and you graduated from MCAA. That was
Yeah.
your high
Graduated from
school.
MCAA and from there ended up at Loyola Marymount University down in Los Angeles,
Oh wow,
where I continued to study dance. So I actually have a Bachelor of Arts in dance.
dance. I just read something today where one of the state legislators announced, Ben Allen, who's our very keen champion in the state legislature on all things arts, that there are now theater and dance credentials available for
Hmm.
teachers in
That's awesome.
California. Yeah, so you can get certified in those particular areas of study. So,
Yeah.
why Loyola Marymount? Did they have a program that was the
They
right
did
place?
have they did have a program. So I don't even know if CISA still exists, California State Summer School for the Arts, one of the teachers at the Charter Academy, Mrs. Cavell, had encouraged me to apply for the summer program and consider going. And I was lucky enough to get in and spent the summer between my junior and senior year there, met several extremely talented professors, one of which taught at Loyola Marymount, and pulled me aside at one point and just was like, what are you doing? You know, do you want to dance after high school? What are you thinking? And I had told her that was what I wanted to do. And at the time it was, I want to be a professional dancer. I want to dance in Gap commercials, because that's back when Gap had all of those different, you know, little dance commercials. And that was the cool thing that I wanted to do. And so she taught at LMU, explained a little bit about what that particular program had to offer, recommended a few other colleges for me to look at. Like Long Beach University had a dance program that seemed interesting at the time. And so I spent senior year looking back and forth to find which one I thought would have the best fit. My mom drove me down to LA and we walked onto Loyola Marymount's campus. If you haven't been, it's in my opinion, must-see school.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. It was gorgeous. I fell in love with the campus at first sight. And the head of the dance department, Judy Scalin, who passed this last year, was just the most perfect human you could ever meet. Absolutely caring, inspirational, driven, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman. And I felt a really strong connection with her and very safe with her. So going away from home in little teeny tiny town and little teeny tiny charter academy into the big open world with a person who you could tell was going to make sure that you were okay. I knew that was where I wanted to be.
Oh, how exciting.
And then promptly refused to get out of the car at any of the other college campuses because I knew where I wanted to go. And
you made up your mind.
Yeah, my poor mom.
Oh,
she dealt with me. So
well, very patient. You knew in your heart that was the place for you. So
yeah,
the whole LA having grown up in Los Angeles, I have had a great time there before I moved back east. But did you do 4 years there? I guess, right?
5 years total. So 4 years in school, and then decided I really wanted to strike out on my own. Wanted to see what I could do, and found a dance studio down there that I worked for a full year. And met some really inspirational and incredible people it was really funny to meet them back then because they were brand new in their own craft and career. And now I look at what they're doing. You see them on social media, following them, and they're dancing with Mariah Carey or Shakira, or, choreographing stuff for The Greatest Showman. And so to see these people who I used to work with
and that connection,
following their dreams still down in LA is really, really cool. So, yeah.
So you had a good time in LA? You enjoyed, the school, of course, but the whole experience was positive?
Other than the traffic, yes.
Oh, I know. Golly, I go back now. I'm like a stranger in a strange land. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. Good for you. Wonderful. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but talk a little bit more about, the whole world of dance and your experience with certain styles and what you're comfortable with, what you specialize in. And I know when we started talking about dance classes at Sutter Theater Center for the Arts, you thought we really ought to focus on West Coast swing, which is I know very popular. And what's that about as a dancer? Are you a kind of a jack of all trades and a master of several, or how does that work?
I think for each person, it's really dependent on their own journey and what they also had available to them growing up. So if you really only ever danced in a strict ballet school, that might be all you know.
Yeah.
With the years that I've had behind me, I've got plenty of experience. I could teach a ballet class up to most levels confidently. Jazz, lyrical, contemporary could absolutely handle. If it's a basic beginning level tap class, I can certainly coach kids through that. And I could sub a class in a pinch for a more advanced level, but it's definitely not my strong suit.
Okay.
So, hip hop, I could take a class, but I should not be left in charge. Definitely things that I didn't get a chance to explore or really invest in my years of training. But with social dance, West Coast swing is something that I got hooked into after participating in Dance with Our Stars when it was still just Ride Out. So with Adventist and Right Out. And after a year of performing, I realized I really didn't know enough about social dance to keep participating in the event if I was going to. Jumped out, met a few people, started learning how to West Coast swing, totally fell in love with it. And now it's one of my favorite things to go and do. Not so much, through the last year because COVID.
Right. You've
lots
been
of
busy.
hand holding. Yeah.
No kidding. We'll get back there. Well, that's fascinating. You mentioned, the ballet and kind of, is that the starting point for a lot of dancers or not so much anymore? Is it, and do those ballet skills translate to other styles like, classical music? I'm saying this thinking I know what I'm talking about, but if you know how to play classical piano, can you play, boogie woogie and jazz and everything else? What's it like in the dance world if you start with that strict ballet training?
I definitely think that ballet has an advantage as a starting point, just because it is rooted so deeply in discipline and technique. Okay. And so if you've got the focus to stick through those first several years of ballet classes, you're really going to have the focus and drive to make it through hip hop, jazz, tap, whatever else it is that you're wanting to explore. But that being said, movement is movement. And if you are spending 5 years being a cheerleader and you decide you want to come in and start doing hip hop or jazz, you're going to have an understanding of how to move your body in direction. Not that it wouldn't be hard, but it helps. And so if you started with jazz and decide to pick up ballet later, are you going to have a different set of challenges and struggles? Sure, absolutely. But I think as dance has continued to evolve and what people are most interested in doing or achieving in dance, the style that you start in becomes less important. And it becomes much more focused on what is it that makes you feel comfortable? What are you excited about? What do you want to do? Because if you want to be a hip hop dancer, it's not that ballet or jazz or tap won't benefit you, but then start in hip hop because that's where you want to be. And same would be true for tap or jazz. And all of the styles complement each other. So I think I have evolved my own opinion of that from, start with ballet. You must absolutely learn these 5 basic positions and how to do a tendu, to start with where you're passionate about and find another style that challenges you because it will help you grow in the style that you are excited about. So whether that's tap and jazz or jazz and ballet or hip hop and West Coast swing, just the opportunity to expand what it is that you count as your movement form is, I think, what's more important.
That's a great explanation. Get out, like you said, go after what you love, dance, learn, try new things, and, keep moving forward. Yeah. I love that. It sounds like a great philosophy. So you mentioned some of your early mentors. Who inspires you these days? Who do you look at? Anyone in particular? Not that I'm all that well versed in the world of current dancers at a high level. I'm old school, and I certainly saw plenty of Mikhail Baryshnikov performances. And I shared with you offline that I was the geek in high school that just wanted to be Fred Astaire when I grew up. And I did wind up taking a number of ballroom dance classes and had a lot of fun with it. But who do you look at in the current world or past inspirations that just kind of keep you excited about what you do?
The internet provides you with so many resources these days. So just following different companies that are in different parts of the world. Lines Ballet, Alonzo King has always been a group that I have loved to just watch even snippets of because they are so powerful and beautiful. Lines Ballet.
L-I-N-E-S.
Alonzo. Yep.
Okay.
Like that.
Lines Ballet.
Alonzo King. So they're stunning. The entire company is just stunning. And
where
another
are they based?
Group, Bay Area.
Oh, they're local. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
And then we've got Diavolo, which is more LA-based company. Okay. They are incredible. If you think that going to Cirque du Soleil and seeing all of the crazy things that they do are inspirational, then Diavolo, in my opinion, is just a whole other notch up. It's more dance based. It's not going to be as much of the circus or, those small performances, but they build all of these phenomenal props. They have this giant rocking boat that they launch dancers off of.
I may have seen that. Okay.
I think they were on America's Got Talent at one point.
Do they tour?
And they do tour. I was able to see them live 4-ish years ago, and they had this giant train that they broke into like 4 or 5 different pieces. And they talk about how many thousands of pounds this prop is to move. And it's the company of dancers that are moving it and breaking it apart. And again, launching themselves off, climbing up. The steps would open up and they drop below them or pop out of them. And just such
this is a big
creativity.
Ensemble when they're at full bore. That's a big group of dancers, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think they have not huge though. I think it's only like 12 or so people. It wasn't
create that train effect. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look them up. I got my homework. Let's get them up. How big a space do we need? Can they fit in the black box?
They would not fit in the black box. I don't even think their prop would fit in the black box.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. How about lions from the Bay Area?
I think they probably could, because I've seen them do small performances with little duets and trios and quartets. So
we're looking for programming for next year. So if you got a connection, let's at least talk about it. That'd be something totally unique as far as my time here. I don't remember anything like that happening. Oh, exciting. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. Gosh. We've touched on this, I think, kind of, but what else do you do in terms of keeping the dance instruction relevant to your students? Do you follow their lead at all? Or if they're signed up for a jazz class or something, then it's pretty much, here's what we're going to do, kids, and follow along? Or how's that give and take work with your students?
Yeah, I mean, stylistically, if you're signing up for a jazz class, then I'm teaching you jazz. We're not going to cross over to too much ballet. I might insert 5 minutes of technique, because again, there is a little bit of crossover in so many styles, things that'll be relevant and help. But following their lead when it comes to choreography can be fun if you've got a set of dancers that are more advanced and really working on developing their own aesthetic. You can sit there and help manipulate and guide and push them into a space that's challenging for them and something that neither of you could have created on your own. But generally speaking, it's a lot of what's coming out of my body. How do I like how this looks on my dancers? Do I need to change a certain movement quality because they're not understanding it, or they're not doing it to the degree that I want them to? Am I finding something on Instagram or YouTube, a combination that I feel like will challenge them or address a need that they have? Oh man, they're not connecting to the floor. I really want to find something that gets them to drop their pelvis down so that they connect into those hamstrings and really can jump higher and be more grounded and more steady on their leg. And it's finding constant inspiration in that sense.
All right, so you're reading signs from the students all along throughout the whole process, it sounds like. Did you have to take physiology in college?
Kinesiology. We did.
Okay, and you do the body parts and all that. So
yeah,
you're talking like a physical therapist, physician here. So it's like, yeah, that's kind of part of the deal, right?
I've joked with a few people, you go through enough years of dancing, if you end up with a few injuries, you start learning quite a bit of PT and musculature and how to figure out how to repair and prevent. And so it's a journey.
Do any physicians prescribe dance or dance? Is there there's a dance therapy discipline, isn't there? Or like with art therapy, is there a dance therapy prescription?
There probably is.
Must be something.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Seems like a natural. Stress reliever, if nothing else, right?
Yeah.
So what's super popular right now? What are the hot buttons like with classes you offer? You've got to offer this, this, and this, or you're oversubscribed in this area? Anything that's like off the charts popular?
I think hip hop is still
okay
in high demand because it's something that I think kids, in particular teens, preteens, feel like they would be able to do and look cool. And, I'm at a school dance and I have music going on and I just want to bust a move.
Yeah.
That seems to be the thing that feels like it translates best in that particular arena. But for a lot of younger kids, it's absolutely the classics: ballet, jazz, tap. Tap is a funny one that goes in and out of style, but it's one of my favorites to watch. It's one of the ones that I think is just underrated. I think parents don't want to bring little 3-year-olds home with. Well, yeah, I mean, you're mesmerized until your 3 or 4-year-old is sitting in your kitchen with their tap shoes on, making more noise than you're ready to listen to while you're cooking dinner. I didn't have that experience,
but I can imagine.
So I think there's sort of this, oh, it's so cute, and I really want to watch them do tap, and then there's the avoidance of, but not in my kitchen. So that's the only thing I can ever think of for why people don't sign their kids up for more tap classes.
Okay, it's like practicing the trumpet or the saxophone
or the violin. I was a violin person.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. So you talked about meeting Jackie at MCAA, and then you went off to college, and then came back, and you worked with Jackie for many years, right?
Yep.
At Jackie's Dance Expressions. How long were you there?
12 years.
12. Wow. Okay.
Oh, a long time.
And good. And tell us about your new studio, Transitions Dance Center. I've enjoyed the social media posts and excited for you. Talk about that and the inspiration. You're taking on a lot here with an additional child in the home and a new business. And wow.
Par for the course. I've said for years, if you're a busy person, you're perfectly capable of making time for anything you see fit. You already know how to do it. So while kids definitely are a little harder to navigate in that because they have opinions about what you should be doing with your time.
Yes.
And the younger they are, the more opinions they seem to have about that. It's actually been a lot of fun. It's been challenging, but a lot of fun to start to build a space that is my own, that is my voice, that is new and clean and different. And, from working with a staff of 14 people to working down to a staff of 3, there's 3 of us teaching.
Yes.
It's really fun to start to establish that initial foothold of what do we want? What do we want to be telling these kids? How do we want them to feel when they come to class? What is our end goal for them when they graduate high school, whether they're going to be professional dancers or not? What are these qualities we want them to walk away with? What are these skills we want them to walk away with? Because I think for myself and for both of the other women I have teaching with me, dance was so much more than just how to kick your leg or jump or point your toe. It really shaped who we were as people and still does shape who we are as people. I think that's true for so many art forms out there. It's not just about painting a pretty picture. It's about figuring out who you are in that process. And with dance, you're connecting in such a unique way with moving in your body to perform for somebody. Same with theater and voice. You're very vulnerable in that space. And
exposing yourself. I mean, hey,
yeah,
this is me,
Yeah.
Naked and afraid, or so to speak.
So you've got to develop yourself. It's not just about pointing your toe. It's about who are you on stage in that space. So I'm excited for the group of kids that we're starting with and to see who they become, not just how they are as dancers in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So.
That must be exciting to take students through that process over a period of years. I'm sure you've had that experience already at Jackie's and now in your own studio. So currently you're teaching classes where in Marysville?
Right now we're at Training Zone in Marysville. Chris Gill has been an absolute angel in giving us some space there to get things off the ground and running while our new facility is being finished. So it's been a journey. But yeah,
Yes,
it's
and
great.
you've got the new space you're working on in Yuba
Hmm.
City. What's the time frame
Yeah.
there? Any idea when you might be doing classes there?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll be in there before Thanksgiving. So November 1 is
Oh,
my goal date if all goes
good.
well. We're getting
Sure.
floors ordered this week, and so it's really just going to be dependent on how long it takes for the company to get them made and shipped out to us. But they're supposed to be super easy to install. But I feel like
Excellent.
that could be, that's like somebody saying IKEA furniture, you just follow the directions, and then 40 minutes in, you somehow built a chair instead of a desk, and you're not really sure where you went wrong. So we'll see.
Oh gosh,
We'll
I
see
hope
which
that doesn't.
end of things that flies on.
So you wind up with a mirrored ceiling instead of a dance floor. That's not good.
Exactly.
Okay,
I'm going to hope not.
you'll know
But
as soon as you take them out of the box.
yeah, yeah.
And it's
And
at
mentally prepared.
it's at Queens and Live Oak Boulevard, right next to the
Queens and
Safeway,
Live Oak.
right?
Subway,
Next,
yes.
Subway.
So
What did I say? Yeah,
Safeway. We don't
Safeway.
have one of those in
I
town, I
wish.
don't think.
I wish. Right.
Same.
Next to the Subway. Yeah, very exciting. Well, good
Yeah.
luck with that. We'll keep following it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to back up just a little bit. I forgot to ask. You touched on it. The whole high school dance thing. I
Mhm.
mean, I remember high school dances way back when, and that awkwardness. Is that still a thing? Does that still occur? Or are students, young people, more outgoing than they were in my day, or is it still some of the?
I should ask my
Yeah,
students honestly, because I mean, high school for me, when Charter Academy first started, we really were just a bunch of really eccentric, artistic kids. And I don't know that we had this quite the same level of nervousness that maybe other high schoolers do. So, I look back at the pictures and we showed up in some really entertaining outfits,
oh my gosh.
like dance costumes, even. And
So
I think we just had a blast. I don't know that there was
yeah.
a whole lot of nervousness or insecurity there. We were all dancers and theater geeks. And so you just
Yeah, I was a
went with it.
theater geek. It just was still, a little intimidating, the idea of dancing, with someone
Oh,
else,
yeah.
sort of, and shuffling around the dance floor and doing our little thing. Um, and what about, do you get the couples that want to be trained for the first dance when they get married? Do you get any of
Yes.
those kind of students? I mean, adults, obviously, but
Yeah. I've had probably a dozen or so couples over the last couple of years that have wanted to learn a first dance. Or I mean, the first dance is very sweet, but I think some of my favorites have really been people wanting to come in and do their father-daughter dance,
oh, right,
or
right. That's
mother-son.
very important.
Those are,
I'm still waiting for mine. My daughter's still interviewing
well,
potential partners.
there
So
you go. It's a long process. It's a very long process,
yes, it
not
is.
to be rushed.
No, no. Oh, how fun.
So yeah, but
Um,
those are sweet.
educate me about choreography. This fascinates me. I mean, I know the whole dance part and all, but the idea of creating pretty pictures on stage and knowing what to ask for of dancers. I assume having a dance background is essential to being a choreographer, like being a theater director. It's like, just talk about that. And then if you want to segue into your work as a choreographer for Dancing with Our Stars, but yeah,
Sure.
give me some insights into choreography.
I mean, you know, took choreography classes, composition classes in college, and improv classes in college, and classes about how to build curriculum and structure in college, and all of it ends up coming together and has times where it's great to use and then times where you go, this doesn't work right now. I think choreography is really dependent on both the choreographer and the dancer or dancers that you're working with. There are students that I love to come in with and give them a starting point. Okay, here's an 8 count of choreography. We're going to move together with the music. This is the way I see your body flowing through space. I really want a leg of some sort, whether it's in front or behind or whatever, but I want to see your leg here and then a fall to the floor. And there are students who are advanced enough and confident enough too, because you have to be willing to, again, be very vulnerable to put yourself out there to have something work or not work. Guide them through that space, look at them and go, okay, now where do you want to go from here?
Mm.
You're on the floor. What do you feel? and to watch them kind of explore that space and see where do they want to do. So you
So
have
it gets kind of, at some point, it gets collaborative.
yeah, so you have dancers that you can have a very collaborative experience with, and then you can't do that quite the same way with a 3-year-old or even an 8-year-old. For them, it's coming in and saying, okay, here are the 3 8 counts of choreography that I created at home to this specific song. We're looking for this big beat. This is where your leg's going to be in the air, or this big beat, and that's where you're going to jump out with your hands out, and we're really going to exaggerate this moment here and put an emphasis on this movement here, and to come in and be prepared to teach something structured, because if you know the level of the class, you're creating something for them. And then there's the dancers where you come in and you're not really entirely sure what you want to do with them yet. So it just sort of depends on what comes out of your body that day.
Yeah.
How am I feeling in my own movement? I really love this song. I hear it and I see movement, but how am I going to take that movement that I see in my head? There's a phrase that several teachers that I know have all shared with me, and it's, well, the dancer in my head can do it. So, but that doesn't mean the dancer in front of me can, or that I even can. Because the dancer in my head can turn sometimes, do a backflip and looks great, but that might not be something I can actually make happen in front of me. So how am I going to create this in my own body with these students and see what they do? And this doesn't seem to be challenging enough for them. So what can I add on or change? But I think the true key to choreography is trusting yourself and being willing to take risks and push yourself beyond what you're used to doing.
I like that. Keeping a challenge as part of the project. No, wonderful.
Yeah.
How does it work with Dancing with Our Stars? So you've been involved many years, right, with that whole project?
Yeah.
And for anybody that might not be familiar, this is an event that's, until COVID's, been going on for years, where local community members pair up with a professional dancer, and then they're guided through three different dances.
Two. I think if you said three, they might all run away from me.
I know. Sorry, 2 is probably enough. Yeah, two different dances, different styles, and then they all perform. I think it's usually on 2 different nights because there's so many participants, and it's a big fundraiser for Adventist Rideout Hospital. Great fun, and hopefully it'll be back next year. So, but yeah, talk about that. Taking folks that I think in some cases have little or no experience in any kind of structured dance program.
Yeah. Dance with Our Stars is really a fun one because you'll have people who will bring you an actual Dance with the Stars routine and say, I just want to do this.
Oh.
I want this choreography. I want to learn how to do these tricks, this here, and that costume. I found it on eBay and I'm going to make this happen. This is what's going on. Done. Settled. And then you just have to hope that their partner signed up for that so that they understand what they walked into. And so you'll take and pull choreography and you'll learn, okay, let me learn this routine. Okay, this 8 count really doesn't work for you. It's a little either too challenging or it's not going to make sense on the stage or with this prop or with this partner. And so you'll sort of tweak choreography and create a new facing, or there's always places where the camera pans around, so you're not really sure what they did. So you have to kind of create movement in those spaces for those dancers. So you'll take things like that.
Are you the general overseer of the whole program? Is that?
Yep. So I think it was. I danced in it twice. Performed twice, and after that was asked to step in as what became the cast coordinator. So the person who helped connect couples to choreographers, whether that was myself or another choreographer in the area or a choreographer out of the area, whatever the case would be, help coordinate space so that they had places to go and practice. A lot of the local gyms were great about allowing folks to come in while there weren't group exercise classes going on. Jackie's Dance Expressions, while I was there, we would make good use of the rooms that were available during there. It's something that if it comes back, I hope that I'll be able to offer space at my studio, and that hopefully other local studios will also continue to be supportive of. It's a phenomenal event. It's a lot of fun.
Just loads and loads of fun, and people come out with their big signs in support of their favorites, and it's just
their cowbell
energy. Yeah, right. The judges are, you get Briggs Moore and some other folks, local folks coming in and just commenting, and just it's just a great event, and they just put their hearts and souls into it, every time.
Yeah.
Nobody phones it in. They're out there working for it.
Absolutely.
So, and they raise a ton of money for various projects at the hospital. So it's good stuff. Any dance styles you've never really dabbled in and really want to work on, or you have any? Not that you got a lot of spare time, but I know you're you create that work-life balance. I mean, anything you're just dying to do personally in terms of dance?
I think if anything, I would love to get back into tap a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
It was a style that was challenging for me. And I think I'm back at a point in my life where something that isn't easy on the first pass would be a good thing for me to do for myself. You got to keep your brain moving up here and challenge yourself to move to new places. So tap would be something that I would enjoy diving back into a little more. And man, if I could find the time, I'm a busy person. I could find the time. I could choose to find the time.
I know. You will.
We'll wait for some classes to open back up. But I think I'd really love to get back into some other social dance styles as well. Because they are really fun. And I mean, that was part of studying West Coast students. Like, man, I'd love to teach these other ones, but I can follow them, but I can't teach them. I don't know enough about their basic footwork or their patterns, and I wouldn't want to mislead anyone in a style. So it'd be really awesome, I think, to pick up like a Latin style, get the cha-cha or salsa.
Yeah. We want to do some salsa. Yeah. People have asked us about salsa, so at some point we'll
find somebody so I can take class.
Yeah, all right. We got a couple of contenders, so yeah, that would be so fun. Do you and your husband, Tim, dance around the kitchen late at night, or do you ever go out? Do you ever have any chance to go out social dancing anymore?
Well, not so much anymore. I think the last time that really he was social dancing was pre-COVID, which feels like an eon ago.
I know.
Yeah. So he would still go out and dance a good bit. But it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So what do you have your children doing? You got a little one and a toddler? Is that right? You got them moving to the music? And
Brooklyn is 4. She takes jazz and ballet right now, and hopefully we'll get a tap class going at the new studio, so she'll be able to jump back into taking some tap.
Sweet.
She's watched us do West Coast Swing a couple different times, and she knows what a sugar push is. She knows what a left side pass is, and I don't know that she fully understands what it is that she's saying to do, but she would watch Tim and I in the kitchen, do another sugar push, do another sugar push. So it's been fun.
How adorable is that? I told you earlier, I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter on the East Coast, and we did a family viewing of the San Francisco Ballet's production of the Nutcracker. And my son's a music teacher in Washington, D.C. And so, of course, he's promoting it. And, they love all kinds of music. But never a week goes by when Sophia doesn't want to hear the Nutcracker. And she gets the tutu on and just loves, swirling and twirling and just absolutely adores it. And usually in her Hulk or a Batman costume or with a tutu over that. So she's totally multicultural that way. So. But it's amazing how young people pick up on that and just dance like no one's watching, and that.
Brooklyn every morning, Mommy, can I do a dance party? Will you put music on? And
right,
when it's 8:30 in the morning, I am not quite ready to blast Kids Bop, but she is full bore, ready to go.
Ready.
So I get my coffee, move the speaker away from my ear, and hit play, and she will dance in the living room for an hour nonstop, just creating her own little performances, having the time of her life. She loves it.
It's incredible. I know. It's just so dear.
It
so
is.
Dear. Do you know any dancer jokes? I didn't look any up. I just wondered. No jokes about dancers or dancing? Darn it. I should have thought for sure you might have one.
No.
We kidded around about it a little bit earlier, but just talking about the history of dance and just preparing for this conversation, I thought, gee, what are the origins of dance, and how far back does it go? And this isn't a test from your high school history of dance or college history of dance class, but I was fascinated to learn that there are records, I guess, in stone art or whatever the recorded history is of of dance as long as 9,000 years ago in India. Over 5,000 years ago in Egypt, there are records that show dance was, part of the culture. And of course, the rituals and ceremonial dances evolved, I guess, from that. But just absolutely fascinating. But then you made a very articulate statement about it. It's like, hey, movement. When did we start to move to some drum beat or banging a stick on a wall?
As long as there's been music, there's been dance and movement. I think it also goes to show how much it's a part of who each of us are, whether we're aware of it or not. And go back and look that far and go, wow, if that was that big of a part of the culture to be carved into stone and painted on the walls, it just, I think it is so much about who we are as humans. And so to really embrace that, to embrace movement, that idea of dance like no one is watching, even if you don't know ballet or jazz or tap, but to find movement in your body, I think it's important to have that awareness.
You wonder if that ties in any way to survival of the fittest. Was there a survival component to knowing how to move? I don't know. Maybe if you had an adversary and you danced for them, they'd leave you alone or something. I don't know. If you put on a good show, right? Oh.
I don't want to find out.
I know, right? And we've evolved, hopefully, from those days. Oh, I got this bright light on my face. Sorry. I'll move over a little bit. Anything else we should have talked about that we haven't covered yet in terms of your dance world and the dance environment? And well, I did want to ask you that. In the years you've been teaching and living here in Yuba City, have you seen a change in the dance community, dance culture? I mean, more people interested, about the same as when you started? Any ups or downs or anything you can speak about?
Yeah, I think when So You Think You Can Dance first came out on TV. And then you had Dance with the Stars, and then you had America's Got Talent, and the Next Best Dance Crew, and all of these different dance shows and talent shows that started really taking off on TV. Dance Moms, as much as that show itself is a whole other ball of wax, that's weird, but it brought a lot of attention to competitive dance, to kids dancing, to that as a possibility for what kids could do. And those first couple of years that those shows took off, I really saw growth in the studio. I saw growth in people wanting to do it. And I don't know that there's been another real big boom since then, but it certainly hasn't tapered off. I think with those shows still existing and being mainstream now, it's really, I think it's normalized being a dancer, taking dance classes, having that as something that you've done in your life, whether it was just for 2 or 3 years when you were young, or something that you do all the way through high school as your competitive sport. So, yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. That's good to hear that those have helped drive interest and participation. So, excellent. And you do adult and young people's classes both, or will, and so it's
We've got an adult ballet class going right now on Wednesday evenings at 8:30, which is after bedtime for the kids. My best friend has come and started taking the class. She's like, oh my gosh, I wish you had done this class time years ago, because I put the kids in bed and then I leave the house.
Oh, sweet.
There's nothing else to worry about. I get an hour to myself. She loves it. And I do too, for that same reason. It's an hour for you. And that feels really good.
That sounds like a lot. 1 hour. Jeez.
It's not. It's great. There's good natural, breaks in between things that are happening at the bar, and stretches that just help you relax and unwind.
Not that bar.
Yeah, not this bar. The bar.
Yes.
The one you use for balance and support.
I'm with you. Yeah. How do you spell that? Isn't it spelled differently?
Barre with one of the little accent.
I knew that. See, I do know.
I never remember which way it actually goes, but it's there.
Right. Yeah, that thing. Yeah. That's great. Well, best of luck with your with the new studio. How do we find you? Transitions.
Transitionsdance.com.
Transitionsdance.com.
Yeah, that's the formal website. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram.
Yeah. Okay.
And apparently there are Transitions Dance Company that exists somewhere on, it's the East Coast. But there is not another Transitions Dance Center that I can find. So if you look up Transitions Dance Center, you should be able to find us.
Excellent. Very exciting. All right.
Is.
Well, the time always goes quickly, and with your permission, I'd like to finish up with our traditional close, and we like to ask our guests 10 questions that were originated by James Lipton, who used to run the Actors Studio in New York City. And they're just kind of fun and, you know, whatever pops into your mind. So with that, we'll get started. What's your favorite word, Amanda?
Coffee.
Oh, perfect.
I know it's technically a drink, but the word coffee brings me true joy.
Sweet. What's your least favorite word?
Can't. And especially when it's uttered by a dancer who is saying, I can't do it.
We had a musician that did a whole show on that basis. Can't say can't.
Can't
Tell me
can't.
I haven't learned that yet. I don't understand this. I may have to work on it, but don't say can't. I love that. It's always resonated with me. So beautiful. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
My students, creatively. Seeing their passion and excitement to be in front of me makes me want to work harder for them.
It's still good after all these years.
Even after all these years.
Good for you. What turns you off creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Being around people who aren't interested in learning, changing, growing.
Hear, hear. All right. What's your favorite curse word?
The one that you should never say on air live.
Give us a hint.
Oh, it starts with an F. It's a fun one.
Okay. Close enough. Close enough. TMI. What sound or noise do you love?
Listening to my children laugh.
So true. What sound or noise do you hate?
Listening to my children cry.
Perfect. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
None really, but if I had to pick something, professional skydiver, because why not?
Wow. Have you jumped out of an airplane?
I have, and it was absolutely exhilarating, and I probably wouldn't ever do it again because when you have kids, I don't want to be that teeny tiny 0.0001% that fails.
Oh my gosh. That's a great perspective. Well, at least you know whereof you speak, but it was exciting, right?
It was amazing.
That's what I've heard. Oh gosh. What profession would you not like to pursue?
Working in the fast food industry. I think coming home smelling like French fries doesn't sound appealing.
Oh gosh. I hear you. All right. And last, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You did good.
Excellent. Amanda Davis, it's been a great pleasure. Thanks for teaching me so much about the wonderful world of dance. I love it and always will. And look forward to more programs with you in the years to come as we continue to roll out our Sutter Theater Center for the Arts. You can come out and meet and dance with Amanda tonight, Tuesday night, 6:30 at the Sutter Theater Center for the Arts, right there on Plymouth Street, 6:30 to, it's usually wrapping up by 8 or 8:30, but come out for a half-hour lesson, and she even goes a little longer sometimes, so it's the best deal in town. Hope to see you there. Keep an eye on YubaSutterArts.org for future events. Thanks to our producer, Abby Cecina, and technical director, Shantae Arroyo, for making all this happen. And keep dancing, everybody. I'm David Reed. We'll see you next month. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.